We will take our first unit exam today, so our objective is to measure our understanding of Unit 1 content by completing that exam. The essential question, have I mastered the three standards, biomolecules, the relationship between DNA and proteins, and enzymes covered in Unit 1? So my thinking as it relates to this first test is that we all are starting off in slightly different places, and we all have different needs that we will address as the course goes on in order to improve. Regardless of where you start off, there is room for improvement. Some of us are going to do quite well on this exam, and we will still find that there are things that we can improve on, whether it be becoming more efficient studiers, better note takers, or challenging ourselves more. And some of us will find that we don't perform as well as we might hope to, and we will know that we need to improve our study habits, reaching out to Mr. Rudd more to get some additional help. Or even just pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves more, just like the rest of the class can. So regardless of where you start off on this first exam, there is room for growth. And I don't want you all to be discouraged. I know yesterday we did a brief survey and asked how confident people were about this coming test, and no one said that they were nervous, and that's good. You shouldn't be nervous. You should feel prepared, but you also have to recognize that it takes hard work to do well, and some of us might need to work a little bit harder. But we'll just see. First, we're going to play a quick Kahoot. This Kahoot is specifically about enzymes, as I know you all expressed some concern about enzymes. So we'll go ahead and knock that out. If you go to www.kahoot.it and enter the game pin 243-5014, and I'm sharing my screen and I'm going to send that to the chat. My computer is being slow. So www.kahoot.it 243-5014. Thank you, Josue, first person to join. Excellent. Let's keep them rolling. I want everybody playing. We've got 18 people in class today. This is a great opportunity for review. All right, we've got 11 folks. Come on, let's get up to 18. We've got 7 more people who need to join. The information to do so is in the chat. Thank you, Deasia. 6 more people. I'm going to wait about 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. You can always join during the game. Thirteen. All right. So as I said, you can join the game after we get started. Information to do so is in the chat. What does an enzyme do? This should be a pretty easy one. What does an enzyme do? Good. So some people keep saying, happened in my last class too, it increases the activation energy. I'm not sure where we're getting that. We've got to think about my analogy of the hill. If we want to get up the hill faster, then we need to lower the hill. Okay, so we got to think about lowering the activation energy, lowering it, not increasing it. Enzymes lower activation energy to help reactions move faster. Good job, Carolyn, Josue, Abby, Lance, and JT. Who's Lance? Enzymes are made up of which biomolecule? Should also be a pretty easy one. Thanks for joining us, Abina.
Did you just say who's Lance?
Oh, there's Lance. Okay. Thanks, Lance. I didn't see you join the game. All right.
That was the second one.
Proteins. Good. So we got those 4 biomolecules, which will be a big part of your exam today. And enzymes are an example of proteins. Good. Good job. Janelle with a big jump. Carolyn's still in the lead. Based on the graph above, at what temperature range is the enzyme activity the greatest? Good. Okay, so some people said 45 to 55, which probably was the second best answer, but we got to be careful. We can see that the graph is at its highest point between 35, which is about there, and 45, which is about there. So we just need to be a little more careful. That's kind of a difficult one. The person who said 25 to 35, not so much, not so much. Good job, Araceli. What occurs when an enzyme is denatured? Yeah, the enzyme changes shape. That's really what it means to denature. It's for the active site to change shape. Thanks for joining us, Santuan. We are playing a Kahoot. I can send the information so you can join up. Carolyn is pulling away. Okay, let's see if someone can catch her. Which of the following will not affect an enzyme? Okay, all right, so this was a tough one because we didn't directly discuss this, but when we think about how an enzyme works, it needs to also have substrates be available to it. If there are no substrates, then obviously there's nothing for the enzyme to do. So the more substrates you add, the more likely it is that the enzyme will be able to bump into one of those substrates and cause a chemical reaction. Kind of like if you are in a room by yourself, it's impossible for you to bump into someone else. If it's you and one other person in a room and you're walking around in random patterns, then it's not as likely that you'll bump into them as it would be if you have 5 people in a room. And then if you have 10 people in a room. So the more people you add, the more likely it is that they will collide. The more enzymes and substrates you have, the more likely it is that they will collide and cause a chemical reaction. The amount of water does not have an effect. Okay, it's a close game. Lance, Carolyn, and Josue. And Lisa's doing well also. Which would be an appropriate title for this graph? Good. So we can see now. I see some people said enzyme action and changes in pH, but the pH isn't changing. It says pH equals 2. So the only thing that's changing in this graph that we can see is the temperature, and the temperature is what is affecting the enzyme action. All right. So pH was stable. It was 2 the whole time. Think about our scientific method discussion. You can only change one variable at a time. If you're changing two variables, you have no way of knowing which one is actually affecting the outcome. So you either got to hold pH stable and change temperature, or you could hold temperature stable and change pH, but one at a time. Good job, Josue. Good job, Lance. Carolyn. Let's get back on top. Okay, which of the following suggests that the shape of an enzyme determines the enzyme's function? Good. Excellent. So enzyme specificity is guaranteed because of the shape of the enzymes. Good job, Sansuan. Keep going. Lance, good job. Carolyn, good job. At which pH is the enzyme the most active? I want you to be careful here. Make sure you take a good close look at this graph before you answer. A lot of people said 6.8. All right, you'd think that because 6.8 is the highest point, but what did it ask? It said, where is the enzyme the most active? So here we can see that we've got reaction time on the y-axis. So at 6.8, the reaction time is really high. It's taking a long time for the reaction to take place, which means that the enzyme is not very active. We want the reaction to take place quickly. So that means a low reaction time. So the lowest point where the enzyme is most active is a pH of 7.1. Tough one. It was a tricky one. Good job to all of you who got it. Good job, Janelle and Lance. Which is the most valid conclusion based on this graph? Yeah, so enzyme function decreases with a certain temperature. All right, good. Lance is still pulling away. What colored line shows the reaction with the enzyme? Is it the red or the black? Yes, good. For some reason, my last class I struggled with this, but again, enzymes lower the activation energy. They make the hill shorter, which allows the reaction to take place faster. Good job, Sally and Abigail. Which letter labels the activation energy of the reaction without the enzyme? Yeah, so A. A is without the enzyme. It's the taller hill. The greater activation energy. Good job, Deasia. Good jump from you. Okay, we've got 6 questions left. What is labeled with the letter A?
I thought I clicked substrate.
My streak.
Okay,
I
we'll
realized
stay.
it last second.
Good job, Carolyn. Keep going, everybody. All right, 5 questions. Which letter represents the enzyme? Be careful here, be careful. I knew it. Okay, so a lot of people said C, but C is actually something called the enzyme substrate complex. We can see that the substrate has moved into the active site at this point. So no longer is C considered just the enzyme. We really want to focus on B here. B is the enzyme. C is something called the enzyme substrate complex. Tough one. What is something enzymes do not do in our body? Yeah, they don't help build up the substrate. Remember, the substrate is basically the reactant. It's what goes into a chemical reaction. So the enzyme is not charged with building up the substrate. Which of the following is an example of an enzyme?
Did we go over this question?
We did, indirectly. I'll explain. Okay, so there were indeed 2 correct answers here. The way that you might be able to identify an enzyme, does anybody remember?
It ends in ASE.
Good, thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Sally and Janelle. So we're looking for that ASE ending. Excellent. So there were indeed 2 correct answers here. Sucrose, of course, would be a sugar because it ends in OSE, and hormones are proteins, and another type of protein. 2 questions left. What temperature will cause the enzyme to denature? Big jumps from everybody. All right, so Lance, you're gonna have to get this next one wrong for someone to catch up to you. Enzymes can be reused or unchanged after a reaction. Is that true or false? That is indeed true. So the 4 people who said false, remember, enzymes are 3 things. They are catalysts, meaning they speed reactions up. They are specific because they only work with specific substrates. And they are reusable. Let's see how it played out. Good job, Janelle. You came out of nowhere and got 3rd place. Good job. Carolyn, you were consistent, 12 out of 17. And lastly, he pulled it out. Good job, Lance, 14 out of 17. Excellent. So hopefully that kind of gives you a refresher about enzymes. I'm going to go back to my slides now. Let's see this. It works. It does not work. We almost have perfect attendance today. We're only missing 1 person. All right. So as I briefly talked about yesterday, obviously we have now inaugurated a new president as well as a new vice president, President Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. No, I did not. Sanjuan, you're good. Uh, and it was an exciting day. I think a lot of people felt that yesterday represented an opportunity to start afresh and to just think about what the next 4 years could become for our country, an opportunity to begin to unite, begin to tell a different story, a more truthful story about who we are and about what goes on in our country, and think about how we can help people less fortunate. So all of those reasons are reasons to be excited about yesterday. And I liked this quote. It was not said yesterday, but it's from Vice President Harris. She says that optimism is the fuel driving every fight I've been in. And I think that is so important. And this is why I like to start off weeks with messages of positivity and get you all thinking about ways you can be more hopeful and more optimistic. And I think there's never a more important time or to be optimistic than at the beginning of a test period or just before you take a test. A test really is an opportunity for you to flex what you've learned, but also an opportunity for you to be humbled and say, I still don't know this, or I don't know this as well as I thought I did. Let me think about ways that I can reassess and go back and improve myself. But in order to do that, in order to be humbled, you've got to be optimistic. Otherwise, it just feels like you are tearing yourself down. Some people experience failure and they're like, all along, I knew I wasn't capable. I knew I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. And other people experience failure and they're optimistic and they say, I can get better. This is not it for me. I can go back and study harder. I can go back and set up meetings with Mr. Rudd or meetings with my classmates. I can look up YouTube videos and Khan Academy lessons. Those are the people who will ultimately be successful. And I believe those are the people who are like all of you all 20 of you who are here today, I believe are in a good position to do well on this exam, but also going forward. So remain optimistic, just like you all said you were yesterday. You said you were confident. So let that come out, perform your best, and we'll take it from there. In order to get mastery, as we know, that's 80%, you need to get 20 of the 25 questions on this test correct. I believe that that is doable. We have decided to make the test a little bit harder this semester. I will still curve them, but I want to encourage you all to work hard as if there will be no curve. I will only consider it mastery if you can earn 80% before the curve. It's not mastery if you do that afterwards. So let's see if we can get 20 right. If we don't, we'll come back and like I said, we reassess and we'll try to do better next time. And we are going to continue to see improvement throughout this semester. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I want you all to turn your cameras on because I need to be able to monitor your test taking and I need to know that it is you. So in order to receive credit for this test, you've got to have your camera on. Thank you. I appreciate it, Lance. What was I going to say next? Oh, yeah, I will also be monitoring Dino, but you can use your notes. So for those of you who have taken strong notes in this first unit, you are in a great position to proceed and do well and succeed. So go ahead and get your notebooks out. We will allow this only for this first exam, just to get you all acclimated to how we like to do things in this class and how difficult these tests can sometimes be. But if you've taken good notes this week and last week, you're in a great position to do well. If you haven't, then going forward, I definitely encourage you to do that. What you need to do is log into NC Ed Cloud like you're getting onto Canvas, but instead of clicking on Canvas, click on the SchoolNet app. Then there should be an option to say, take a test, and you'll enter the test code bio WMU1T. I just sent that to the chat. If it doesn't work the first time, keep trying. You've got to be patient. I know this technology is frustrating, especially considering everybody in biology is testing today, so it might be a little slow. If it doesn't work after a few tries, then we'll try another way. Cool. I can see that Deasia has started. Carolyn, Abigail, Lance, Lisa, Selly, Araceli. Let's see who else. Nico, Melissa, and Santuan. Okay, I can see that some of you are actually close to finishing, which is pretty impressive. But if you finish early, just make sure that you've gotten your Unit 1 assignments done. You can, once you finish, you can turn your camera off and just kick back and relax if you have everything done. But don't leave. Okay, folks, it is 1:20. And you all are good to go and get ready for fourth block. I know some of you are still testing. That's fine. You will, I think it's set to only last 60 minutes. So make sure you're looking at that timer so you don't go overtime. Or I'm sorry, so you don't get blocked out. But everyone else, you're good to go. And I'll talk. Oh, it will be the last day of the week. Thanks, Melissa. You too.
Have a nice day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, have a good day, Mr. Red.
Peace out.